It's TWAB time, everybody. Get in here. Oy. Get the hell in. I mean, I guess you're already in here if you click the video and you're listening to me. So that's all right. What we got? What we got, Datto? I'll tell you. We got weapon tuning. We got bright dust changes, sort of, kind of deal, and seasonal challenges, aka that thing that you've probably seen in a lot of other games already. We're going to do the seasonal challenges discussion first, because some of you are not going to be happy about the weapon changes. Seasonal challenges work like this. Every week of a season, for 10 weeks, the first 10 weeks anyway, Bungie will introduce in between 3 and 10 challenges of varying difficulty and requirements. Some are for the seasonal content, some are for Gambit, Crucible, etc. Some are for things like reaching certain power levels and improving your weapons and armor. They are completed once per account and will stick around for the entire season. So you could go do week 1 challenges in week 7 if you don't get to them in week 1. All of these will reward XP, others may include Bright Dust, seasonal currency, or other things. Bungie will not add challenges after the 10th week. Most of the challenges that focus on ritual activities, Strikes, Crucible, Gambit, can be completed without the season pass. About 60% of the seasonal challenges will not require the season pass. As a result, weekly bounties from the 3 main vendors, Banshee, and the seasonal vendor are being removed. They will still have daily bounties, and the 3 main vendors will still have repeatable bounties if you want to go grind Bright Dust and extra XP. Any challenge that rewards unique or seasonal items like currency, lore books, or seasonal weapons can be completed as long as that activity is still in the game. But experience will only be given for seasonal challenges from that season if we're in that season. So if you do a season 14 challenge in season 15, items, yes. XP, no. I just recommend doing the challenges in the same season if possible. Thoughts at the end. We'll do thoughts at the end. Next up is Bright Dust, everyone's favorite currency. Maybe because it's the only one that it feels like has actually any sort of value whatsoever. As Bungie has mentioned, they wanted to make earning Bright Dust more account-centric instead of, how many games of Gambit do I need to play for 100 dust? Centric. Bright Dust will be added to seasonal challenges that are based on Strikes, Crucible, or Gambit in between 75 and 300 dust, depending on the challenge. If you're a free player, do not worry too much though. The only challenges that will get Bright Dust are the ones that can be completed by both free-to-play and season pass holding players. Also, if you complete nearly all of the seasonal challenges, which I imagine you would need the seasonal pass for, you are going to get 4,000 Bright Dust just straight up. Each ritual vendor challenge, aka the complete 8 bounties for a powerful thing, is also going to give 120 dust for each character that does it per week. Here is a chart of all of the dust payouts. You have a maximum potential of 34,540 dust per season. Plus, there will still be weekly and repeatable bounties that you can do for dust with any sort of seasonal events that show up. Finally, make sure to claim all challenges that have been completed before the end of a season. Any not claimed will expire after the season, and you will not be able to get your dust. I don't know why you would hold them unclaimed. Just claim them. Next up, we got some weapon tuning. Oh boy, do we have some weapon tuning. In preparation for crossplay coming later this year, nice of Bungie to confirm that yet again, Bungie is making some recoil changes. Currently, mouse and keyboard players experience 40% less recoil on certain archetypes of weapons, give or take based on the weapon type, creating a situation where the stability stat can be completely ignored for all intents and purposes, thus creating major discrepancies between controller and KBM players. I bet you know where this is going. The following archetypes are getting that recoil reduction changed from 40% to now only 20%. Auto, Scout, Pulse, SMG, Hand Cannon, and Machine Gun. But SMGs, pulses, and machine guns are getting some buffs in that the camera movement from firing these weapons is getting reduced by 24% for SMGs, 7% for pulses, and 9.5% for machine guns. This is in response to the recoil adjustments coming. SMGs are largely outclassed by autos at medium range and sidearms at short range, thus the change to make SMGs feel a little bit better to fire. All right, okay. How about some buffs? A little palette cleanser buffs, okay? Rocket launchers are getting a whopping 30% damage increase, with exotic rockets getting their own individual tuning while being affected by this change to varying degrees. Fusions, increased fusion rifle damage fall off start distance based on the range stats. 6% for 0 range, 16% for 100 range. Basically what that means, fusions are going to do more damage from farther away than they were doing before. Also, their camera movement is getting reduced by 10% as well, makes it easier to focus your aim. Breach GLs with the hold to arm, release to explode functionality will now have their projectiles detonate on impact with a character, even if you're holding the trigger, to make them a little bit easier to use. And then we go back to the nerfs. Increased ADS flinch to snipers when taking damage from other players. This is because, quote, it's hard to challenge someone with a sniper. Even if you get the first shot on an enemy, they can often respond and win the fight, end quote. Swords. Yep. 15% damage nerf. I don't think I really need to explain that one. They are still bonkers. 65% of players are using swords for the majority of gameplay encounters in the entire game. Yes, they are buffing rockets, but also, have you seen swords? They're pretty good. Bug fixes and changes, these are good. Hawkmoon, Ace, and TWAB have an issue where they lose their bonuses if you take out your ghost. Oh wait, not anymore. That is finally getting fixed. That is very good. Borealis and Hardlight now have a short animation for switching their damage types. Okay, very good. Neat. I like that. Duality seems like a buff more than a fix. Increased damage fall-off distance by 1.25 meters in both hipfire and aim mode, and they reduced the maximum stacks of the buff from 7 to 5, but made each buff have a higher damage bonus and extended the duration. So basically it should be the same damage bonus at maximum stacks, except you only need 5 now instead of 7. Sturm will once again reload any equipped special slot weapon on kill, provided you have reserves for it and it's not already full. And Merciless is finally getting fixed. Its charge rate will now, hopefully, properly increase on non-lethal hits, aka the gun is going to work how it's supposed to. Finally, unrelated to all of those things, Crimson Days is dead, with Crimson Doubles getting thrown into the DCV. Bungie feels like the event's quality is not up to snuff, therefore it is going away for the time being. But this should hopefully allow Bungie more time to do other things instead of having to worry about Crimson Days. Thoughts, Mr. Datto? Well. Seasonal challenges are fine. A lot of games have this kind of feature. It is in line with Bungie's Bright Dust changes that they wanted to do. It doesn't excite me a ton, since it's just a restructuring of weekly bounties, pretty much, but it's still a nice feature nonetheless. It does give me more, oh god, I need to check these things off the list so that I can feel complete vibes. So hopefully these aren't too bad. I don't imagine they will be. Bright Dust. I am happy about only needing to do one character's worth of stuff for Bright Dust. Not that I bothered to do all of my weeklies on all my other characters, because I just don't do that anymore. However, these changes do not largely target players who are actively doing every single bounty that is available at all times. These changes are more targeted to people who do not want to do that, or who just do not do that at all. Compared to Shadowkeep, yes, if you are someone who grinded every single bounty for every single speck of dust possible, you are still not netting as much as you did during Shadowkeep, and that is frustrating for those people. Totally get it. For people like me, who don't really bother anymore, doing at most 2 to 3 strike weeklies per week across all of my characters, there's probably a bit more to be gained there. The total amount of dust you can earn now is basically the same as it is in Season 12, but still much less than the Shadowkeep era. I think if we can find a way back to those Shadowkeep era dust values while still achieving what Bungie wants to do in terms of the account-based grind instead of the character-based grind, that would really be the ideal. Weapon tuning. Now, I'm definitely not going to sit here and pretend I am very, very, very well versed in the controller versus keyboard situation, because I'm not, although I have played Destiny on a controller recently. What I am here to break down is this. As a PC player, I can just ignore the stability stat completely. It literally doesn't matter if a gun has 100 stability or 0. I can ignore it. It doesn't matter. Bungie wants players to care about this stat to some degree. They want it to be a relevant stat. So from that point of view, I get this change. Make PC players care about the stability stat again by adjusting their recoil while at the same time making sure that the gun balance between controller versus mouse and keyboard is still somewhat close when crossplay becomes a thing. No, that doesn't mean bringing controller recoil to the same as PC as it is now when it comes to this argument specifically. All that would do is make more people completely ignore the stability stat, which isn't what Bungie wants to make happen. Bungie wants the decision-making of your weapon have to include the stability stat now. I think the issue of controller recoil not feeling as good as mouse and keyboard recoil is still definitely a conversation to have, but within the context of what Bungie is looking to achieve here, which is make stability matter again on PC, the stability stat, this adjustment makes sense. Especially with crossplay, gonna have PC players playing against console players, and Bungie maybe wants people to get used to this, or they want to try to tune it so that it feels good for when crossplay actually launches, instead of doing these changes at the crossplay launch and having things feel out of whack. You're still gonna make people mad that recoil is gonna be harder to control. That's fine, you can be mad at that, but now you're actually gonna have to hunt stats down in order to adjust your recoil. Rocket buff. Okay, watch out for rockets in Season 13. They're definitely going to be bringing some heat, especially with the Charged with Light mods. Fusion's getting a buff. I will take anything Bungie is willing to give them. Breach GLs, you know, it does feel bad to have a grenade doink off of an enemy's head because you didn't hit the release on time, at least in the PvE world. Sniper flinch. I know people are always talking about sniper flinch. It's frustrating to get the jump on a sniper and then have them still headshot you, no problem. I'm going to let someone else a little more versed in that world discuss it a bit more. Swords, on the other hand, yeah, that's an understandable nerf. They're still absolutely insane for everything in the entire game, and even though rockets are getting a substantial buff, I think Bungie wants to see what happens if rockets are really given a place to shine, and perhaps that still included nerfing sword damage. I think swords will still be fine. You're just going to need a couple of extra swings now to kill something. You know, Atrax might not get one cycled every single time now. Ooh. So just, you know, mentally prepare for that. Bug fixes are good. The Ghost removing the buff stacks fix was a long time coming, but it's finally here, which is awesome. Duality is getting some good changes. Hopefully that gun will see a bit more play. Merciless is back. That's good too. Hard Light and Borealis seems like that element swap might be done Cerberus Catalyst style, where you just give the weapon a bonk and it changes, which is great. I didn't really like having to fully reload, just swap elements. Finally, Crimson Days going away. I'm not really that torn up by it going away. I don't think many people are either. I think Crimson Doubles maybe could have just been a special playlist for a week or two. I don't think that would have been a huge issue, but, you know, it's been vaulted for the time being. I largely ignored the event after I got all the cosmetics, and those cosmetics weren't really replaced with new ones that often. Anyway, that's it. That's your TWAB. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.